Morning, good morning, everyone.
All right, let's roll. So we'll give a couple seconds to come back
Yeah,
in.
let's get a few everyone in, and then we'll go over our. There's still people popping in here.
Yeah, we'll get them all added in. All right, cool. Let's see here. All right, pretty good turnout again today. Get them all in, and what I want to talk about today, Eric, because I want to talk about some of the due diligence part of what we do. We talk about how to generate cash now, cash flow, cash later, which is all great. But the reason why we're able to do all that stuff is because of how we create the paper and the notes from the very beginning, which is by far the most important thing. I mean, the deal, obviously, you got to have a good deal to work with, but at the end of the day, you've got to have the right protocol and procedures and systems in place to create that collateral, what we call the collateral file, which ultimately drives the ultimate value of the note that we're either going to keep for ourselves in the form of the second, or in the form of the first that we're going to sell, because people are going to want to have, they're going to want to have, they're going to want to have the something of value. So we'll go through that here in a second. So I think what we're going to do, so why don't we at a really high level, Eric, why don't we start with sort of this process? I mean, let's work the deal backwards a little bit from the due diligence side. So what we try to do from we talk about building, and it's all this is in the master class, right? So all of this is in the vault and talks about doing, and depending on where you're located, location wise, will determine whether or not who you might use. There's different servicers that we have. There's different underwriters that we can use. There's different title companies and different attorneys. Is it a foreclosure state? Is it a judicial or non-judicial state? All those things have ultimate impact on the true value of what these notes ultimately will be used for. And I think I'm going to pull up a couple of slides here and we'll start there. But why don't you just, at a real high level, Eric, go through the top 5 or 6 different categories that we have in the note creating process from the that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously our model is, rather than buying a note, we're creating a note. So by creating a note, we're acquiring the property. And we go through the 75% model. We can talk about that too. But once we create it, the key is when we resell it and sell it to a qualified buyer, I guess it'd be a qualified borrower that's buying our property. What are the things that we need to do? So obviously the number one thing is to show that the borrower has the ability to pay. So that's why we use an RMLO to do that. And so we stack our file with showing their ability to pay and their, obviously their proof of income. So a lot of our borrowers, I mean, we just got an email yesterday, Nick, on a deal we're doing. I think it's in Houston, and the borrower been self-employed for 2 years, which is going to be a massive trend. That's why learning this stuff is so important right now. But they have, I think they have 50 or 60,000 in the bank. They're going to put 28,000 down, and they have all the ability to pay, but they're not going to go down to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or Chase Bank to get a loan. And so through that process, we're going to go in and get them qualified, right? So that would be, that's the main portion of the due diligence.
Let's talk a little bit more. I guess it's really important to talk about like real specific, like what happens, like from a note perspective. Why do we create these notes the way we do? Because if we're going to build it all, it's one thing if we know we're going to keep it for ourselves, right? But if I'm going to sell a note that we write today to Bob Smith, he doesn't know us from a hole in the wall, right?
Right.
What is he going to have to do? He's going to have to take what we did. We know what we did is cool. We know what we did is right. That's what we teach and what we do. Anybody that does and follows the protocol that we have inside the masterclass will get the benefit of all that. But let's talk about the reasons why we do this and where So when we take that note that we created, that first note that we wrote at 75%, and we're trying to get maximum value for this, and we know we're going to get maximum value for it because we're going to buy it because we did the right things. What is a note buyer ultimately looking for, right? What is he going to go do? What does
Right.
that due diligence checklist consist of? Because those are all the things that we need to make sure that we do, because it's important that they understand what they are.
So I'm actually writing it down in the chat here. So number one, they're going to do a title search to make sure that they're going to be in the position that they're going to be in when they buy the note. So keep in mind, there's a ton of people in our program that they're not going to go find it. They're not going to go clean it up and sell it, but they're going to buy the note that we create because they know it's a clean, solid note. So we actually have people that are they just want our notes because they're clean. So part of the due diligence is they're going to do a title search and make sure when they do buy the note, they're going to actually be in the first position. They're going to want to get an appraisal or comps, right? So they're going to comp out the property. They can take our word for it and look at it, but maybe they're going to go do their own little due diligence on that. Obviously a full underwriting package from the RMLO.
There's 6 high level steps to this. Do you have those handy, or do you need me to pull them up?
No, I don't have them in front of me.
Well, I thought the ones we were talking about earlier on the phone today, you read them all off to me.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So,
sorry.
So it sort of goes in order from the note acquiring side of it and what happens in that process. Now I got a different screen up today.
Yeah. No, I know. Cause
I can't share it on this computer.
So now, and I'll put this in the chat, by the way, you guys. So obviously you're going to order the BPO, so you're going to get tax and title reports, making sure that everything's current. Taxes are current. You're going to review and audit the collateral file. So when you review and audit the collateral file, that's the note.
So let's stop there, because a lot of people might not know what a collateral file is. Okay. And a collateral file is basically all the documentation that goes in the support. It's like the script, right? It's like all the details to the story, right? It's all the chapters of the story that we're writing. We're writing a story on how we built this note with the buyer, with this property, and we got to build this story. And the story is all the things that are in the collateral file. And the collateral file is what we share with a note buyer. For example, when you guys do these notes and you create them and you get it to go to title and you go to then part of the underwriting file that we do from the RMLO, that's part of the collateral file. The closing documents, part of the collateral file. The pictures, collateral file. Appraisal, collateral file. These are all the important ingredients that build this collateral file. And the better job we do of establishing the file and putting the right data into the file, the right documents and all the supporting documents, the more attractive that note is going to be to purchase. And that's why when you guys go through the system and the program and you follow the protocol that we put into the master class, and you follow all those steps, and you use the correct title companies and the correct underwriters and the correct attorneys, and you write the notes the right way, that's why we will buy those notes from you guys, immediately, and give you an immediate answer on the note and give you a price on it before you ever approve and close that buyer that you're selling it to, regardless of where it's located. There's a process for that. Okay? But that's why we do it, because if we know that if you follow and you do best business practices, for example, in your due diligence, when we create that file, we don't have to go back and redo it, because we already know the answer to the question, because we told you what the answer was for the question when we started, right? So that's why it's important. But you go rogue on us, for example, a lot of guys want to go rogue, okay? And there's nothing wrong with doing this yourself, okay? In fact, we were just talking about this the other day. I think it was somebody brought us a deal in Houston, and I asked a question. I go, well, who are they using for the RMLO? Don't know. Who are they using for the servicer? Don't know. Who are they using for the title company? I don't know. Well, guess what? If I don't know the answer, then we can't provide the maximum value for the purchase of the note.
Yep.
So that's why you should, if you're going to do this, you should, and you want to sell this for maximum value, because I will tell you this. I just was reading, I'm going to read these. I got to go back to this other screen. Unfortunately, I can't share today, so I'm just gonna have to read it, okay? I didn't have time. I just got the data here recently. But for example, right now, the industry numbers right now are trending at about, shoot, my thing just jumped. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd you go? Come on back here. The industry average is about 82%, okay, is what performing first notes trade for in the open market day. Just like there's home buyers out there, there's note buyers out there. USA Note Pro is a note buyer. Everything that you guys are doing, if you do it this way, we will potentially be a note buyer if you follow the protocol. If you stack the file, we call it stacking the file, building the collateral file. Here's the good news. You guys don't have to do any of this yourselves, right? We have either we do it internally, or we partner with you, or we tell you who to use, or they're already approved and vetted vendors that allow us to do this. But let me just tell you some of these numbers here. So on the performing side of it, where did it go? Give me 1 second. Where is, oh, here it is. I'm sorry. It just shut down and I had to go back and reopen it. All right, here's the number, 82%. Let's just run, these are some critical numbers. And we're only going to talk about performing notes here, because guess what they are? If we just created the note, they're called performing. What does performing mean? It means the buyer has been making payments on time. Well, if they've never made a payment, then they've never been late on a payment. So by definition, in the note space, it's performing. So all the notes that are created out, we talk about this $25 billion industry, right, Eric? $25 billion of seller finance paper that's written by you and me and us and a lot of these people that are listening to this right now. That's 25 billion. That $25 billion is all the paper that's rated, that's not written by Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. Of that paper that's written, the average sale price on performing is about 82% nationwide, 82%. Okay. Well, that's what you would sell to on an open market. Because remember, it's not seasoned. You might not have written interest rate the right dollar value, the right percentage. But if you follow our protocol, we will probably outperform the national average on us just buying it by at least 7, maybe as much as 10%. Okay. There again, market conditions, where it's located will ultimately dictate that. For example, if it's Illinois, we might be at only a 3 or 4% increase over the average. But if it's in Texas, on the other hand, it could be as high as 10 points higher. Well, think about that. If it's a $150,000 note and it's 10 points difference, that's $15,000 in a discount difference. That's a lot of money. You start doing volume, it adds up over time. So that's why you guys got to use best business practice and follow the protocol when you guys are going to do this stuff. Because remember, you guys are building this to keep the second note. Well, no one really cares about what it looks like in the second lien position. You don't have to, it's not as big a deal, but here's the benefit of it. You have to do the same paperwork on the second as you do on the first, because it's the same borrower, same underwriting file, all of that stuff. So we want to do it.
But real quick, Nick, when you're saying, so second liens, what you're going to get to, there's still people buy second liens, especially if they're underwritten properly. So if you needed
absolutely.
If you needed
you can turn around and sell these. Absolutely.
So if you need a liquidity event, there's tons of value on second liens. It's
no, I'll buy a second. We'll buy at USA No Pro. We'll buy second notes all the time.
Yep.
Right now, they're not as valuable as first liens, obviously, in the eyes of a note buyer, because guess what? You're junior position to the first. Okay. However, if I'm writing a first lien and I'm selling it off, I'm keeping the second lien, I don't really care that I'm junior, because I still have the note that I created free and clear. And if I want to foreclose from the second position, I can do that. But guess what? Guess what doesn't usually happen, Eric? We don't have a lot of defaults because we underwrite the buyer correctly from the beginning. And what does that mean? It means following the protocol and doing all the steps that we say to do. Don't cut corners. Don't go to take shortcuts, because all that does is affect the value of the note. And the model will not work.
It's no different than remodeling a house. If you cut corners, you either have problems, but that's the cool thing about the industry right now. When Nick said 24 billion, 25 billion, whatever the number, it's a massive number. how many of those are underwritten properly and did the protocols that
Not
we're
many.
talking about?
I
Not a lot.
I bet you of that $25 billion that's written, I'm going to say 95% of it is written incorrectly. Now, I don't mean written illegally. I mean, they didn't stack the collateral file correctly. They didn't do an RMLO report. They didn't get an application from the buyer. They don't have it serviced at a servicing company. They're not escrowing taxes and insurance. I can go on and on and on and on. But guess what? You don't have to do if you're creating the note. You don't have to know all that stuff. It's already in the vault. It's already in the checklist. Just do what it tells you to do. Step 1, get a buyer. Step 2, get a contract. Get a contract. Step 3, send them to an RMLO, underwrite the file. It's already done. You don't have to physically do any of this stuff yourself. So let's talk about the difference between performing and non-performing for a second. We don't deal in non-performing because we create the notes, and guess what? Our notes aren't non-performing. They're performing. And the reason why they're performing is because everything we just said that has to transpire to make it that way. The better job we do of underwriting that buyer, the more likely they're going to stay being a performing borrower, right? We're going to collect their down payment. We're going to verify their employment and how much they can afford to make the payment on monthly. The difference is, just to put in perspective, the difference on the desirability of performing versus non-performing. I use the F-150 model example all the time, right? If the truck is in pristine condition, that's a much more desirable purchase than something that's beat to shit, regardless of the price. Okay. And notes are no different. Of all the notes that are available for sale, if they're performing, about 75% of them sell. And the reason why 25 don't sell, they just might be asking too much money for it. Or they may be performing, but guess what? They don't have the collateral file, because you can be performing and not have all the documentation, right? Non-performing, it's about 25%. So 1 out of 4 non-performing notes sell. And the reason why they probably don't sell is because the buyer has a lower expectation of the value than the seller does.
Nick, can you tell me in your deal I'm putting in the chat, what's the non-performing value for the non-performing value for nationwide, non-performing value nationwide for a
right? So that let's see if I have that here. So it's non-performing is about 58% of the value. So I'm
putting all this in the notes or in the chat.
So they call it UPB. Okay, they call it UPB, which is unpaid principal balance. If you ever look at a mortgage statement, you'll see principal balance. You won't see UPB usually. It'll say unpaid principal balance. UPB means unpaid principal balance. They'll, on a non-performing note, if it's worth $100,000 of UPB, non-performing, the average is about 55 to 58%. Okay, if that note is still $100,000 and it's performing, it's 82%. If it's performing and you follow the protocol that we tell you, it's 90%. Pick where you want to be, right? Do you want to go half-assed and get 58 cents on the dollar? Then don't do any of the stuff. If you want to get maximum value, do it this way. You guys, it's worth doing it because we're writing 30-year notes most of the time here, right? We're doing it one time. We're getting the perpetual benefit of it for the life of the note, which could be up to 30 years. That's why it's important to do it this way. So I hope that answered the question on that. On the, let me see what else here. Non-performing about 27%. So that just puts it in perspective on where this stuff falls.
So what did you, so non-performing, do you have performing on second liens? What are those?
Well, I mean, performing, that's, you can't go by, I don't have that number. That's a much more.
They didn't have that in the,
yeah, but it's not, I don't know the data source on it, but here's something that I think is more important. In the last year, from last year to this past year, the value of performing notes has gone up 8%. So it's 82 now on average. That means last year it was 8 points lower, which was 74%. Okay.
But you would think a lot of that would have to do is the appreciation too and the risk that goes into it, right?
No, I mean, not necessarily. It surely could. I think people want security.
Right.
They want security in the form of something being a known quantity, right? A known
Right.
quality, right? So interest rates could have been, they could have started writing interest rates higher, which can increase the value. But here's the interesting statistic that when I said the non-performing was at 58%, that's down 11% from last year. So there's an inverse relation between the desirability of performing and non-performing. Okay. Let me ask you a question. Think about this from a note buyer's perspective. And we're not trying to sell notes here. We're not trying to get people to buy notes, but
Real quick, non-performing's 11, went down 11%.
yeah. So it was 69% last year of the ability to, that's what they were, when they sold them, they got 69% of value
Okay.
on a non-performing last year. Now it's dropped to 58%. Okay.
Okay. I'm putting that in the chat.
Yeah. So it's down. Okay. But you have to think of this from the note buyer's perspective, because just like you would think of note buyers no different than retail home buyers. Okay. We talked about this a minute ago, is that if you're going to go fix and flip a house, you're going to get more value if you do a nicer job of finishing it out, right? And you have to take that in consideration when you think about it from the buyer's perspective. Notes are no different. So when we look at the selling of the note, we want it to be as nice as possible, and that's what note buyers are ultimately doing. So that's why it's important to create the note correctly, even though we're not going to be the long-term benefactor of that note, somebody else is. But for us to get the highest price point on the note, on selling it, because we're a note buyer, we have fun, we put all this stuff in it. That's exactly the kind of stuff that we're looking at when we put notes into our own accounts. So anyway, I hope that answered the question on why we do that, and why the creating of the note is by far, in my opinion, the most critical component of all this. Because if you're writing $100,000 note and you're at a $5,000, you're at a 5-point difference on value, that's $5,000. I can tell you this, all the cost that you put into what I would call using best business practices of all the stuff we talked about, underwriting the borrower, isn't $5,000. It's a fraction of that. And that's assuming that it's only a $5,000 discount. It could be more. It could be more on that. You just don't know. So, all right, let's, I
have do you want to discuss the post-closing, funding, accounting, record, reconveyance, inventory of the collateral, and boarding them and with a servicer, and how important that is?
Well, I think we can talk about it let's talk about it a little bit from our position of being the note holder, right? So when we write these notes, we're writing a first and a second lien. Okay. We're taking that first lien. The borrower is going to make one payment. Okay. The borrower is going to make one payment to the servicer. Okay. And then when they make that one payment, let's use round numbers of, say it's $1,000 payment. Okay. $800 covers the first and $200 goes to the second. So that $800 goes to the first, and the servicer takes it and sends it to the first, whoever the first lien holder is that we sold it to. And the 200 goes to you or me or whoever's holding the second note. Right. So, but once we have that second note, what happens is that we have a lender account, because now we're the lender, we're the bank in this situation, in the second lien position. You'll have an online account that you can manage, and you can review all of the data that the servicer collects relative to that borrower's payment. Okay. So part of that $35 servicing fee or whatever the servicer charges, guess what that is? That's the fee they collect to manage that whole platform, collect the escrows, pay out the money, pay out the tax, escrow the taxes and insurance, do whatever that is. If there's an underlying mortgage on it, so you did a sub-2, you did a wrap mortgage or something like that, they pay that off. That's why you service. Anybody that does a wrap mortgage and self-services is a fool, because and the reason why I know
the reason hold on, Nick, the reason I'm smiling is because when all the stuff you're talking about.
Did I call you a fool? I called you a fool.
No, I am. No, I was kidding. No, the coolest thing about all this stuff we're talking about, and the boarding of the note and all the things that go along with managing, like what the banks do. That's why we talk about this. When you're a landlord, you deal with all that crap, or you have to pay for someone to do it. And when we create our notes, we add the servicing fee to the borrower. So that's all handled on the borrower side. So when we have a net number, we call it, it's a net number of our income. It's super trackable and predictable income versus as a landlord, it's not. That's the whole point of all this. So sorry to interrupt, but I just want to,
No, that's.
like, it's a lot of stuff that goes on that we don't have to deal with because
Right.
we're just the bank now. That's the
Guys,
whole point of all
this is if I'm going to say this, this is the most important thing I can say on this call or any other call. The best thing you guys can do is just figure out how to go get more damn deals
this.
and then outsource the rest.
Yeah.
Figure out how to go get more deals and then outsource the rest. Okay. Because that'll allow you with velocity to go get more deals. I talk about it all the time. I'll just go do one more deal, Eric. I could care two rips about the $5,000 if I'm making 15 on the next deal. The last thing we had Rochelle Jarvis on not that long ago, and I asked her the question. I think I asked her the question, what do you think the number of hours it is to manage the transaction, right? We talked about what that looks like. And she goes, it's probably 10 hours. Well, I know myself that if it took me 10 hours, if I had 10 hours, I could go find another deal in 10 hours. No question in my mind. If all I had to do is leave everything out of my world, except go find me one more deal, I could definitely go find a deal in 10 hours. If I'm not worrying about my phone ringing, not checking Facebook, I'm not worried about if somebody sent me earnest money, any of that stuff. Right. So that's how I look at it. Well, if one deal is worth, we talk about this all the time, $30,000-$40,000 between cash and a second note. Okay. I'm going to try to get as many of those deals in my pipeline and get as much of the minutia out of my way. I don't want to have to screw around with the servicer or underwrite a borrower or do any of that stuff. That's not efficient use of my time. I always use the example of the attorney that could type 200 words a minute, but his assistant can only type 100, right? Does that make, just because the attorney can type faster than his assistant, does that mean he should type all of his documents and briefs, legal briefs? No. That's not the highest and best use of his time. Highest and best use of his time is going and getting clients that makes him millions of dollars than worried about that his secretary can only type half as fast as him. Same difference. Don't focus on the minutia of doing all this stuff. Outsource it all. It's already built for you. If you're in Texas, it's really good. And if it's outside of Texas, it's good enough. Okay. That's all I can say on that because we don't control it.
We like Texas right now. So we have a lot of people that are reaching out to us and they're like, where should we go market? Because they're professional deal, like they're wholesalers and deal finders. They have acquisition companies. So I'll answer a couple of these questions here in a minute on the chat, but they're asking us, where do we go? And we said, there's enough business in Texas for the rest of our lives with everyone on this call times 10 because of the value of the properties, as well as the buyer pool that want single family homes that are tenants right now. And if you guys are homeowners right now, just think about this for a minute. I was talking to one of our partners yesterday, and he's a super successful guy. And I said, think about you and your family and living in your home and the security you have of home ownership right now. How does that feel? And then take that away where you're a renter and you get to renew your take that away of home ownership away, and then you have to renew a lease every year or every 2 years. And so and he's like, I never really, and he's a very, like, these guys are going to do, I don't know, probably 200 deals this year and switching their entire model around what we're talking about because of it. And he's like, I never really thought of it that way. And I said, that's why our buyer pool is so big. That's why people will pay what we charge within reason, right? We're not charging people 30, 40, 50% of rent. We're charging really within line and the opportunity we have to provide home ownership. And so that's the mentality. Like, if you guys think about this, if you're a homeowner or I have a lot of friends that live in my neighborhood. They sold because they could make $1 million selling their freaking house. That's a different business model. Like, they're going to go rent and they can live wherever they want. But if you just want a straight up, just single family home and your family can live in it, or your in-laws can live in it with you. I mean, Nick, one of the things that Nick did that I love the most, he would buy in Texas, he'd go find 2 1s and 3 1s, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 3 bedroom, 1 bath that had a carport. And then that buyer, he'd drive by that thing 6 months later. Now it's a 4-2 or a 3-2, and they've got mother-in-law and their father-in-law living in one of them, that they had a bathroom and a new bedroom. And then that's how they combine incomes. And that's going to be a thing, you guys. We know that, right? So that's part of the thing that we're talking about here is all the technical side of doing it. That's what we teach you, but the purpose behind it and the need and the massive opportunity to provide homeownership with these properties. So anyway, I just wanted to, I went completely sidetracked there, but that's why I was trying to explain the amount of people that are out there that are renting because they have to, not because they want to. And we can provide the opportunity to not do that, right?
Yeah. All right. So
Anyway,
where are we on the questions? It looks like I think I got Gene Davis here. When we are creating these notes, where do we include taxes and fees? Does that get applied to the first position or second? So I'll just answer it the way that we do it. And then I don't know if that's the answer to the question or not. If not, then just chime in. So the buyer has to, when we find a buyer for the property, okay, just like you would find any other kind of buyer, only difference is you're going to be the seller and the lender, right? It's going to go to the underwriter, the RMLO, and they're going to collect all the information. Okay. So what you have to provide to the RMLO is the terms of the deal. So I just did one. Let's see if I have it here handy.
Just tell them what an RMLO is, just in case there's new people on the call.
RMLO is the loan originator. Okay.
Residential mortgage loan
originator. And by Dodd-Frank, and I'm getting the weeds on this, you want to go read all 2,000 pages of it. Good. Have fun. Know that you don't need to, because guess what we have? We have attorneys, we have servicers, we have RMLOs. That's their job and their responsibility to provide that information for us. But it goes to the RMLO, and we have to give the RMLO the terms of the deal, because we're the bank, right? Just like if you're going to go down and buy a house and you're going to go to Bank of America to get a loan, you're going to go in and go, hey, I want to take out a bank loan. I'm buying this house for $200,000. They give you a rate, and they say, okay, based on your credit, based on your down payment that you have, your interest rate is going to be X. Okay. And they're going to tell you what the terms are going to be. So we're going to do the same thing. And what we do is we're going to, typically try to write a minimum of 10% down. And then, and then the first loan is usually going to be in the around 75% on the first. So let's just use easy math. $100,000 property. Okay. We're going to get $10,000 down payment. That's 10%. We're going to write a $75,000 first lien, and we're going to write a second lien for 15. 75 plus 15 plus 10 equals $100,000. Okay. Then the underwriter is going to take that information, and they're going to build out all the disclosures and the terms of the deals that the borrower is going to sign. Your payment's going to be X. And in that payment is going to be the combination of the principal and interest that's going to be collected on the first and the second lien, plus the taxes and insurance that are going to be escrowed, plus the servicing fee. And then the borrower is going to get a payment, and it says your payment is going to be $1,200. And here's a breakdown.
Real quick. One thing you guys that he said here is plus the servicing fee. We pass that on to the borrower. It's PITIS.
There again, not important if you follow the protocol. If you go rogue and you forget to do it, guess what you just did? If you go rogue and you say, hey, I'm not going to underwrite because I only have to do I can do one a year, and you want to cut corners, go ahead. I don't care. I'm not going to pay you max value for that note. And guess if I'm not going to do it, any educated, experienced note buyer isn't either. Because guess what happens when you don't service? Eric, I'll ask you this question. Because we had a note portfolio. We still do, actually. Okay. I don't remember what there started at 82 notes that we bought. Okay. Perfect example on why I create versus buy. But I think it's important.
Well, do you want me to answer the night?
I have the $6 million mistake. Yours is TBD.
It could be worth $6 million by the time I spent. No, but the point is, I bought a non-performing, there's performing, non-performing.
It doesn't matter if it's performing or not. Here's what I'm going at with this. Okay. Yeah. Were the majority of those notes underwritten with an RMLO?
Actually, they were. Yeah.
They were. Okay.
Yeah. No, they were all written properly. But what happened is the people that had it prior, they weren't, the taxes weren't escrowed properly, insurance wasn't escrowed properly, and they were contract for deeds, but we won't go into that. And all of a sudden they got so far behind and didn't collect properly. So when I bought it, I took on the mess. And so now I have to go back through and start charging everybody, collecting and self-insuring, paying all the taxes, all the stuff on all the non-performing and the performing. It's a damn nightmare. It's a nightmare. So I'm not a
But
fan.
let me ask the question. Let me ask you the question. Okay. Are those notes more valuable if that escrow, if that service, if the taxes and insurance are escrowed or not?
They're no, they're not, or I would have
You don't
sold them
think
by
so?
now, but I'm
I
going to
can
keep them.
promise you
And,
what I won't be buying. A note that isn't serviced and with taxes and insurance escrow.
right, right.
You
And
should
that's
give me a
their
lot bigger
job. And that's
discount.
their job. The
But
servicer's
let's talk
job
about
is
the
to stay
reason
up on
why.
it.
Okay, let's talk about the reason. Nothing wrong with it. But let me ask you a question. If I have a performing note and my taxes and insurance are escrowed and I have it serviced and that note's performing, how much time does it take me to manage that?
Zero. There's nothing to do other
So
than
if it takes me zero
well,
amount of
actually, that's
time,
not true. You collect every month, you check all your income, and that's it.
okay, so it's a little bit of time. So if it takes me 5 minutes a month, how many of those can I check? How many of those can I do in an hour's worth of time?
It's a lot.
Like a zillion.
It's so scalable.
But if I have something that deviates from that best business practices and I'm self-servicing my note, I got to manage that. That takes time. It gets back to what we talked about earlier. Do what you do best and figure out how to leverage the rest, right?
Yeah.
Your job and my job isn't to go freaking figure out if somebody is paying their taxes and escrowing their insurance, or I got to do fourth place or any of that BS, right?
Right.
We want that to be on the RMLO side. Okay.
Right.
So that's anyway, we only bring this up from the standpoint is that don't take shortcuts and go out and do it the cheap way, because it will bite you in the butt eventually. Because remember, I've said this many
Even
times.
when you look at the cost of an RMLO, which you can pass all that on to the borrower anyway, but
Charge
if
it to the
maybe you
borrower. But
can't,
here's the thing.
it's worth it.
Here's the thing. It's not a problem until it's a problem. Okay. And when you write a
Right.
30-year mortgage, something eventually will come up. It's inevitable. So you might as well come up and have it be somebody else's responsibility than it be yours, because you
Right.
can't scale the business. All right. What else we got?
I have a question. So one of the,
Yeah.
Mary asked, if we sell the first note and hold the second, how are we protected if the buyer stops paying? So good question. I'll answer it, then you can chime in. So first of all, you have a first lien and a second lien. That second lien is secured to that property, just like the first lien. So if they stop paying, you have the ability to go collect just like anybody else, just like the first. I'll give you an example. Depending, I have a deal that the second during the foreclosure crisis, I created a second. They didn't pay me for 11 years. Guess who just got paid? Me. And they filed bankruptcy. They did everything they could have done. That property was secure. That note was secured. And then my money just accrued interest over time. And I got a big payday that honestly, I kind of forgot about, but it was, it was secured. Like they called me and said, hey, we need a payoff on this. We're refinancing our property. We forgot that you helped us out of pre-foreclosure, and we forgot we owe you $78,000. Oh, well, great. Here's the payoff. Did that answer your question? You're secured to the property.
So can I answer it for you?
Yes.
How I would answer it? I don't care. I don't care. And here's why I don't care, because guess what? My cost basis is on all my second notes.
Yeah. Zero.
Yeah. Okay. But here's the thing. Even if I did care, which I do care, I'm just joking around with it. I'll get paid eventually, because if I did a good job of writing the note and underwriting the borrower, the banks will get paid, and the banks always get paid. Now, will I get 100% of the value? Maybe not. If I'm holding, let's go back to the $100,000 example, right? We saw 75% first, 15% second. I have a 15%, $15,000 second lien. I'm probably not foreclosing from the second position. It's just too much money and not worth my time. What I would rather do is that, well, if it goes to foreclosure and the first lien holder who's got 75% in the deal, he will foreclose, right? So let's just say it goes to foreclosure Look, there's a lot of things that can happen. There could be deed and lose, there could be cash for keys, there'd be a lot of stuff out of the deal. You're still got a second lien on that property. So let's just say it goes to foreclosure and it sells for $80,000. Okay. Lower than the 100. Let's just say, so for 80, well, the first lien holder is going to get 75 plus whatever. Let's just say that was what he was owed. Well, then I'm going to get a check in the second lien position for $5,000 because I'm next in line, because you can only get what you're owed. Okay. So people that have mortgage, have loans, and if a bank forecloses on a property and you owe the bank $100,000 and it goes to foreclosure for 150, the bank doesn't get all the 150. The bank only gets what's owed to them legally. Okay. They get
Their
the legal
attorney's fees
balance.
back,
They get the legal balance,
interest, all their back interest, all that stuff.
whatever the legal balances they get.
Yep.
And then the difference in the proceeds goes to the borrower. Okay. A lot of people, they changed that rule. It wasn't always the case. It's got to go back. And that's why there's stuff that sits in these reserve accounts at the county and the state level that people don't even know that there's money out there. That's a whole nother.
The other side of it, you guys, is if you acquired that property and then sold it on terms, sold it with and create a first and second. A lot of times I get a first right of refusal to buy the house back. So I get that done. And then also you have the opportunity to buy the house back if it's and you're in second position. So Nick, I think he's being sarcastic. If your second liens, which very rarely happens, and then obviously it's market conditions or whatever, but if there is a correction in the market, we have the opportunity to go help them and figure it out. It's either a long-term problem or a short-term problem. And for me, if it's a short-term problem, we'll help them out and we'll get back in business. If it's and the other side of this is when we do 30-year terms, these aren't 5-year balloons. I mean, they're 30-year terms. So someone will figure out a way to take over that property and keep paying us. I just have this.
It's such a small percentage of all the stuff that we do. We don't even use it. I stopped even using default rates in my notes because it's such a small percentage. We don't even track it anymore. I mean, when we do it the right way, we're probably 50 to 100 times lower than the national average for foreclosures.
Yeah, because of the type of borrower that we're
the way that we underwrite
that we're lending to. So someone else asked JR here. He asks, I don't know how to pronounce it. If it's Javon, maybe. How do you find deals? Nick and I will just do a simple answer on that. We go to people that are already finding deals, the ones that already have the deals. We have realtors, wholesalers, people that have acquisition teams, and then we just pay them what they want because we're masters of selling homes on seller financing, and we know we're going to have 10% down payment behind us, right? So if we have a 10% down payment behind us, how much could we pay for? You just back into the math when you plug in. Obviously, you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but
you find the deals just like you would find. How would you find it if you're a wholesaler? How would you find the deal?
Yeah, so you can go get if you're buying and holding.
You're a landlord. How are you going to find the deal? If you're a fix and flipper, how are you going to find the deal? It's the same way. Everybody finds the deals. We find them a little bit differently because we have a different exit. You guys have a different exit, and the exit is do the math. We talk about it all the time. Acquisition price divided by 0.75. If that's your minimum owner finance value. If you can sell that on terms at that price that you calculated out, it's a deal.
So if it's 100, if you see a wholesale deal come into your system, I'm using round math because $100,000 houses don't come around anymore as much. $100,000 divided by 0.75. And then the other side of it is in our calculator, you plug all that stuff in with your down payment. It'll tell you if it's a deal or not. I mean, you literally can just sit on your email with every wholesaler's deals that come in and just plug in the math. And if it works, you go buy it. And then
if you get deals in Texas, we'll buy them all. If it's a model, you don't even have to pitch this stuff.
Right. And if it's in Texas, contact, we'll let you know. So anyway, so the next one was, how does this work with probate properties? We usually need to purchase with cash. That's the probate properties are by far, in my opinion, the best deals because you're getting the most amount of equity. It's depending on the seller. It's a bunch of, it could be some kids or whatever that inherit it, and they'll give a discount so they can get their cash now. Well, you buy it with a hard money loan or a private money loan, close on it with cash. Then you go back and you create the first and second, do the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's cash or sub 2 or whatever. You're still going to have the same.
The acquisition is no different than you would normally do.
Yeah.
It's the exit that changes, right? So you can acquire just like you would normally acquire, and then you just plug this in and see if it's make. Look, not all properties fit this model, guys. Don't try to put a square peg in a round hole. You got to run the math on it. That's why I personally always look at worst case scenario, and I want to know if I got to take this down and I got to fix it for real. And I got to fix grandma's house. We're talking about what grandma's house looks like, right? Grandma's house is a house that's ultimately what we want, something that's clean and livable, but it hasn't been updated in 20 years because grandma didn't have the money to do it. But it's perfectly safe. It's perfectly clean. It just needs a little freshening up. Well, a typical fix and flipper or even a buy and hold investor is going to say, oh, that's a $30,000 rehab because that's what it costs. I'm going to say, oh, that's a $30,000 rehab, but I'm not paying it. I'm going to let the buyer pay it. If they want a new kitchen, they're going to pay it. I'm going to discount the purchase price to the buyer a little bit, not a
But
lot.
we're typically discounting the rehab of about 30% of what a normal
Maybe.
rehab would be.
Yeah.
So if it's a $30,000 rehab, you're taking 9 to 10 grand off the price and passing that savings on to the borrower because they're going to go
back
put
and
their
watch.
sweat equity
I
into it.
think there's a really good in the webinar that we did. They should probably go watch the webinar. Cause I think didn't we break that down and show the pictures of the property? You don't have to buy anything. Just go watch the webinar. What is the webinar under? Put it in there. What do we put it under? Cash now, cash flow, cash later.com.
Yeah, I'll put it in
There's the
here.
webinar. Go watch the webinar we just recorded. It's part of our sales thing, but look, a lot of the people are already in it, so I don't really care if you buy it or not, to be quite honest with you. But if you want to understand what a property looks like and understand the model, go watch the video. It doesn't cost you anything just to watch it. See if it has value to you. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, no big deal. But those are the properties that we ultimately want to go after because they don't fit a fix and flippers model because they're thinking, I got to add $30,000. And if I got to add $30,000 to my acquisition price, it's not a deal. If I want to be a buy and hold investor and I want to get maximum rent value, I got to fix it because no one's going to want to live in a rental for that much premium on rent when it looks like grandma's house. But an owner occupant buyer looks at it from the standpoint, I get a chance to have home ownership. I want to buy it and I'll fix this thing up over time. And eventually they'll have a brand new house and they don't have to wait for me to fix it and they can buy it today.
And
fix
guess
it
what
over time.
happens to your second lien and your first lien, the security? It goes up. Your value of that note goes up because you have less risk of default when they start adding equity to the property. Right.
Yeah. Did you put that in the cash? You put it under training. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same, but I'll do both. It kind of takes you the same. It takes you to the same.
It's the same place. All right. So let's see. We got about 10 minutes left here. I want to make sure we get all these question answer. Okay. Let's see, let me make sure I didn't miss something here. After we get the terms underwritten by the RMLO, do I just send that to a title company along with the purchase agreement? Do I have to get an attorney to write up anything specific to the seller financing terms? Do I have anything else? Yeah, you got a lot of stuff, honestly, Jonathan, but that's all in the masterclass. And when you do it, it'll tell you, if it's in Texas, we have an internal company that does everything in the state of Texas. And then anything outside of Texas, we outsource it. Okay. And we won't do it, but we can give you inside of there, it'll tell you these are who we refer and recommend for title companies or for RMLOs or for servicers. But you want to make sure the notes are written correctly.
The key is what we do is we have in every market you have there's different rules and different laws in every state. I bet you're talking about your Arkansas deal. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah.
I know, John. So every city or every state has their own rules. So what I do is I write out a summary of exactly what I want with the terms, and then I'll have them write up the note. And a lot of times your title company can help you with that, just to make sure that note's written up properly.
In the vault, there's already notes already written. You can't use those same ones because Texas is not the same as Arkansas or Ohio or wherever it is.
Yes.
But an attorney can see the gist of what it is.
Yeah.
Here's what I see happening when people you don't know what you don't know. And I say that quite a bit, but like, for example, here's one of the biggest things I see in a lot of stuff, especially now. People don't, guess what they don't put in there? They don't put inside the payment letter, they don't put a disclosure in there that says the buyer is responsible for the servicing. They're telling them they're going to pay the $35 a month servicing. What if servicing goes to $100 a month in a year from now?
Yeah. That's
Who's
why we
gonna pay-
pass it on.
Who's going to pay that?
PITIS.
Well, I can promise you, if it's not written into the note, you're going to have a situation on your hand. And guess what happens if I am the lien holder, the note holder, right? And I have that, and I'm going to buy it, and that's not in there, and now servicing either wasn't part of the payment, or the increase was in it. Guess what does to the yield on that note? It makes it go down.
Yeah.
Let's just say for sake of argument, your P&I payment, principal and interest, is $250 a month. Okay. There's a lot of them that are in that range. Maybe, there's a lot of stuff out there at lower interest rates. I'm just using it as an example, 250. Well, $35 on 250 is over 10%, right? What if that went to $50? Now it's 20%. I mean,
so if you wanted to sell that note, your yield's gonna go down, and the discount's gonna be according.
Buyers that buy notes buy primarily, whether it's right or wrong, buy on yield.
Yep.
That's it. That's why we write it APR plus 6.5%. APR is the prime offer rate that's set by the government that says when we write these notes, we can write up to 6.5% above the number. That's why I do it. I don't give a crap at the interest rates 3 or 4% right now. That's not my problem. If you want a 3 or 4% interest rate loan, then go walk your butt down the Chase and get it. Okay. If that's not what you want or can't do, then first,
but guess what?
Nick and Eric charge you 9.5%.
If you are going to go down there and do that, they're probably going to want points and fees. They're going to want they're going to have
PMI,
private mortgage insurance, all that stuff. Yeah. So when it all comes down to the numbers, even though we're getting that premium interest rate and it's close to rent, it's still a great deal for that borrower. That's not bankable. That's not going to go out and get. They're bankable. They're just not going to go get a bank loan. I had a question from Ingrid, which Ingrid's like the most amazing person in the world. She's
What's
awesome.
up, Ingrid?
I love Ingrid. Anyway,
I don't love her that much because I haven't got any properties from her yet. But once I do, I'll love her a lot.
Yeah, you'll love her more.
Kidding.
Anyway, so with first right of refusal, can it include a predetermined price point? I don't do that. It just gives us the right to do that. I don't put a predetermined. I just want, if that house goes to sale a year later, and I know they're going to have, what do we do when we negotiate a wholesale deal? You have commissions, you got closing costs, you have probably repairs, you have all this other stuff, right? If they have all that, then you can negotiate. It's basically building a wholesale property list with all your loans that you have the right to go buy it. And that's how I do it.
Yeah, we're not holding anybody like.
No, they can go sell it to whoever they want. They don't have to sell it.
We just want them to call us.
Yes.
We just want them to call us if they decide to sell.
Yeah.
And maybe we get lucky and we are able to buy it. Maybe we're not.
It happens because then guess what I know that my team we're professional buyers. So we know the questions to ask to find out why.
Let me ask you a question. Here's why it's super important. Okay. And when we talk about cash now, cash flow, cash later, get out of the debt. And I don't want to go into details on this, but I know there's a lot of people that do sub 2, right? They do sub 2 and seller finance. Okay. So think about why this is important. I have a sub 2 or a seller financing deal that I got for $100,000 and 2%. Okay. I sell on a wrap for $150 and I get it at 9%. Now that buyer is a seller, I want to be able to buy it because guess what I'm going to do? I want to keep the existing debt in place and go rewrap it again. So yeah, that's why we want to do it.
And the other thing, I just had a deal where I was the lender. I bought it wholesale, fixed it up, sold it, did the whole deal. And then 21 months later or 22 months later, it sold. Guess what I didn't have? I didn't have the first right of refusal. Guess what the borrower put down? $72,000 down, plus paid all the fees. I could have easily went and recreated that note and bought it back from the borrower and even given her the number she wanted to go recreate that note. That was another 9.5% interest note, $360,000, $72,000 down. I was like, and so I would have doubled my cash flow by just taking that down again, So That's why it's so important. There's all these little things that we create checklists for all this stuff that you want to think about. Well, actually, you don't even have to think about. You just go through them and add them in. Doesn't mean they don't have to do the first right of refusal. We just plug everything in there that way. So.
All right, guys, we're wrapping up here. I want to, if anybody had another question or we missed one, just throw it in the bottom in the chat right now so we can get to them, because we went through there. I saw Kevin said, "What's the max we can charge in Tennessee?" I'm not an attorney, not a CPA, not a financial advisor. You need to know you need to find out what the what's it called? I just forgot what it is.
What do you want?
What's the maximum allowable rate? It's called something. It's called what the hell's the rate
APR.
called? What's it called? The maximum. Anybody? Thank you, Dustin. I knew Dustin would know. The usury laws for that state. You need to know
Yes.
what the rate is, because they're not the same. Some states don't even have them. Some states are low. Like I think Illinois or Oklahoma or Missouri, one of them's like 8.9%. Now, how does that apply to what you're doing on this? Doesn't mean you can not do more. I don't know. That's going to be for you to find out in your own state. I only care about the ones that I write, and I don't know what Tennessee is. I'm not sure that Tennessee, I don't know that Tennessee even has a usury rate or law. I don't know, but you can Google and find that out. Yes, the answer is we'll buy notes. We'll buy notes anywhere, Tevin. We'll buy them, but it all depends. Okay. I can't just say I'll buy that note and pay you X, because I need to see the collateral file, right? I need to look, and I need to see what the picture looks like. How good of quality is the note and the asset and the borrower, and did you do everything that we said that you need to do to get you the maximum price?
So where do they send that? Support at creativedealmaker.com.
Yeah, or they can go and actually, if they have a note, they can. We probably want to see it beforehand, or you can go to usanotepro.com and you can submit your notes right on the site to submit it. Just put that in there, usanotepro.com, which is our sister note site. Yeah, perfect. All right.
Either one of those.
Yeah. Always better to submit online. All right, cool. 10% in Tennessee. So you're fine. Ingrid says, of course, Ingrid would know Tennessee. 10% Tennessee. There you have it. That's more than APR anyway. I mean, not APR. Yeah. APR is probably 3.25 now. So you're probably right in max 9.5, 9.75. So anyway, we're good. All right, guys. Thanks again. Hey, next week, I just got confirmation. We're going to have on our private lender on there that does private lending in the entire United States. So you guys, if you need money on the front side, we're going to bring them in. They got a lot of cash. They got a lot of different programs, and hopefully, if you need money, it'd be a good place to start. So we'll have them on next Tuesday, and then that's it. So that's all we got for now. If you guys have anything else, you know how to reach us.
See you guys. Thanks for being on the call. Chat with you soon. Bye.